The Star Marketing Summit for trainers, speakers, coaches, and authors is not just a way to improve our lifestyles as those professions, but I believe we can change the world, not just with our message. I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that the way we show up in the world is different. Because we do have a calling, we do have a drive, not just to live a life by default, but to design the direction of where we go. And that's what the Star Marketing Summit is all about, is that we help one another. And we're kind of the opposite of the crabs in the bucket, that when one crab tries to climb out, the other ones pull it down. We're the ones that we get to the top of the bucket and we throw a ladder to each other. That's really what the Star Marketing Summit is about. And that's why it is always such a magical experience. And I appreciate you for being a part of this historic ongoing event. Years from now, this thing might be written up in Wikipedia that some of the great speakers of all time came out of the Marketing Summit. Even you might be the one that puts us on the map. So think about where you want to go and what your winning combination of activities is. So we can do keynote speeches. We can be a breakout speaker, which means we go to conferences where there are lots of different speakers and lots of different things going on. Usually there's kind of a general session where the keynoter comes out and motivates and pumps up everybody. A lot of times that's an opening session, a session during lunch, or maybe a closing session, or all three. And then in between, people go to breakouts to actually learn things. So you can be a breakout speaker, which is a nice combination of kind of speaking and training. And it allows you to break that training up into little short segments, often 1 hour long. A lot of you are trainers, and training can take the form of a full day, 6-hour seminar, even a 2-day seminar, but it can also take the form of a webinar. It can take the form of a lunch and learn, lots of training there. We probably don't even realize how much we are consultants, because when you are in a place and you're doing training, coaching, speaking, you get a feel for the vibe of the place. You get a sense of the culture. You probably already know what some of the common problems are that organizations have or that your target audience has. And you probably have enough experience to be able to compare the energy and the culture and the activities and issues that you see at this client location compared with this client location. So whether you realize it or not, you are very qualified to be a consultant, if for no other reason than that because you're on the outside looking in, you see things differently. Your vision isn't jaded by being an insider. So make sure and bring that insight. I know, for example, Fred Pryor Seminars has this sheet of paper that we fill out called a next steps form. And it's where we give the client internal as well as external next steps. Hey, I noticed this. You might want to do this internally to back up the training or to improve the organizational culture. You also, external next steps, might want to get some coaching. You also might want to bring in this training class. Shadowing is a popular thing where you really watch people work and you observe. You might want to bundle that in with some of the things that you're doing. Coaching is kind of a no-brainer. Coaching continues to capture a bit of a larger piece of the pie year by year of the training dollar. And it used to be that organizations brought in training. Then they realized, training plus a little coaching after the training to make the training stick. Then they realized, well, wait a minute, what good does training do if people are not coachable or they don't have a leadership mindset? Let's do the coaching first to get everyone on the same level. And then once they are, then we'll do the training. So then we're also seeing, let's do one-on-one coaching for the management team, and then let's do group coaching for the rest of the team members. And the group coaching is kind of a combination hybrid of training and coaching. And then there's also this whole idea of mentoring. The difference really between coaching and mentoring is that coaching is really about helping them find their answers within them, whereas mentoring is about, I'm experienced and I want to show you what I know. Not that one is better than another, but you'll want to get your own unique combination, and certainly there may be others. But most of the time, you will not be just one of these things. Do know, though, that you don't have to be all of these things. A lot of trainers I know try to aspire to be keynote speakers because keynote speakers, they make a lot of money for a very short time. that might not be for you. That might not be for everybody. You can do that. You can aspire to that. I've discovered that as a trainer, I really enjoyed moving into the world of breakout speaking. And I really enjoyed moving into coaching and those other little pieces that go along with that. Keynotes, it would be interesting to build that skill. And I've been called in to do little keynote type things. And it's just not my first choice. So think about it. You don't have to delve into all of these. You probably want to have a combination of them, though. So what can we at the Marketing Summit help you do? Well, first, we really need to help you clarify what it is you're trying to do. I think a lot of the time we start out in this business with, I'll just take whatever work I can get. What I'm trying to do is pay the bills. What I'm trying to do is get my calendar full. And it's absolutely reasonable to start out that way. But now that you have a sense of what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, how audiences react, then think about what you really would like to be doing. What do you want to try and do? Maybe some of the just let me fill my calendar, but let's just take one or two things and what if in this year you got really intentional about one or two things? And what is it that you need to be able to do that? And how can we help you? Now, for years through the Marketing Summit, I have said, this is kind of a checklist of the types of things that people say that speakers need. Notice the way I phrase that, the kinds of things that people say that speakers need, and coaches and authors and trainers. The thing is, none of these things is as important as you. Having genuine conversations with people, really understanding the problems that your target audiences face, really being able to speak or train or coach and really bring it. Through word of mouth, someone who saw you speak can recommend you to someone else and you don't even have any of these things and you can still get the gig. I see people do this all the time. So what I want to beg you to do is not spend all your time trying to get all your ducks in a row by following this checklist, because in the end, one of the things that's not true is if you build it, they will come. No, if you get out there among them, they will come. The website's a nice thing to have. Social media is a helpful thing to have, a one sheet, all of those things. But the first most important thing that you need to have is, what do you speak on? What formats do you offer? What's your price point? Who's your target audience? What's the problem that you solve? What can they expect to be different after working with you? All the websites in the world are not going to help if you don't know the answers to those questions. So what name are you going to go by? Are you going to have some kind of a tagline? I've got to be honest with you, over the years, I had Jack of all trainings. I had Motivational Mastermind. I had Make Shift Happen. I've had all kinds of little taglines over the years. And the fact is, mind mapping, guru, I don't know, like various things, nothing has really stuck for me as far as a tagline. And primarily, if you're not a keynote speaker, that isn't absolutely essential. Similarly, there's like a prestige phrase that says, best-selling author, America's #1 blank, blank, blank. If you have something like that going for you, feel free. I could use the fact that I organized the Marketing Summit or the fact that I've trained over 1,000 coaches. I could create a prestige phrase out of that. One of the important things, and I really got this from LaShanya Akerson, who got this from studying from some of the greats like Larry Winget, that you need to come to the platform with a point of view. So for me, for example, my point of view is that it's not a lot of the times that people don't know better. It's that there's a real difference between knowing better and doing better. So I don't want to teach some training seminar where I get up and, I'm teaching customer service and I say, smile, answer the phone on 3 rings, just these little obvious things that people know and that have made people hate training sometimes, like, oh my goodness, they're going to tell me this obvious stuff that I already know, make it stop, right? Instead, I want to go in and say, you know what, you all know what you're doing and you're very good at it. And there are just a few things that keep you from being able to do what you know. Emotional control, emotional intelligence, like think about the various things that keep people from doing what they know. So that's my point of view. And those of you who say, I don't want to narrow myself down to one topic. I don't narrow myself down to one topic, but I do narrow myself down to one point of view, the one I just mentioned. Boy, was that something. The next items on the list have to do with your brand and your platform. So defining not just those points of view, but also whom do you speak to? Where do you speak to them? For what purpose do you speak to them? So those of you who are leadership speakers, that's not good enough, right? I mean, do you speak to C-level, what size organizations, small, medium, large? What type of industry do you specialize in? And are they are they self-made, or did they move up in the ranks? Did they start the company? Are they entrepreneurs? There are lots of ways to define your audience. Leadership is too broad. Would it apply to church leaders and community leaders and family leaders as well as corporate leaders? So really get a sense of that. And we're not saying, when we say to define these things, it's not for the purpose of excluding anybody. It's that when you say, I specialize in this, then everybody comes and goes, oh, you specialize in that. That sounds wonderful. Hey, can you also help us? Whereas if you say, I specialize in everybody, everyone already assumes, well, you can't help us. So think about, like, broadly, not just, what your topic is, but whom do you serve? What problem do you solve? And what result can you promise? I realized a while back that leaders are great. Leaders are awesome. I tend to like entrepreneurial type leaders, community leaders, middle managers and low level managers, team leads. I really love for leadership to work with the level just right above the front line in coaching. In training, I love teaching the masses. I love teaching, again, the frontline workers, the administrative professionals, the technical staff, and again, kind of the lower to middle level managers. As far as the highest up people, there are many people that say not everyone's cut out. They don't have the right demeanor to work with that level. We talk about that in our executive certifications, coach certification. I've been told by people that know I have the right demeanor for that, but to be honest, it's just not the people that I enjoy working with as much. So think about that piece of it as well, the enjoyment factor. And then think about what you offer. I think it's really funny. And one of my mentors, Ann Evanston, who's been in the industry about the same time I have, she always says, what the heck do you sell? Like, something that rhymes. And, spit it out. I help people, blah, 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 blah. Okay, what do you sell? Like, what is it? Do you sell a training seminar? Do you sell a coaching package? On some level, sure, of course, people don't buy the steak, they buy the sizzle. That's a different conversation. When someone is ready to buy, what are they buying? What are you selling? You absolutely have to say to them, this is what I offer. For the longest time, for free helped people brand themselves and figure out their businesses. And it was kind of silly to do it for free. So and then I would just put people off because I'm like, I can't afford that time. And then it was like, well, Sherry, you're hurting yourself and them because they do want to work with you and they do want to pay you, but you just don't have a way to make them pay you. So I just started this thing and I said, okay, hey, listen, tell me what it is that you're doing. Show me your marketing material. Show me where you're going and what you're doing. Give me all the links to your websites and your social media accounts. And I will do an audit of what you've got out there. And I will present to you what my thoughts are on how you should proceed. And with that, you may decide, okay, that's what I need. Great. I have my little blueprint. I'm gone. You may decide that you want me to help you out with some things and have me work with you. And that little audit is $497. And people are like, oh, okay, fine. Here's my credit card number. It was easy to get $497 for doing this audit that I was kind of doing for free or telling people I would do, but then putting off because I wasn't charging. So you talk to somebody about your passion and they say, that sounds good. I'm interested. What, and then if you can't tell them, okay, great. You know what, here's what I'm thinking we'll do. I'm thinking we'll do a half-day training session followed by 3 coaching time slots where we'll take each of the participants and give them a 15-minute slot. And, here's what that is. And my recommendation is to bring me in quarterly. Like, if you don't have that, and if you will go into the Dropbox for the marketing summit, you'll see lots of sample proposals. So what is it that you sell? And of course, what is your motivation? Like, if it's not something that, if you're not in touch with your own why and your own passion, it's a little harder to sell that. So those are all pieces that are a part of the checklist. So what I'm trying to get at is the checklist is not necessarily the physical materials, the one sheet, the website, so much as it is that understanding of who you are and what do you do, what problem do you solve, and who do you solve it for. Until you've defined that, I'm seriously going to tell you, you're really probably not going to go out and get business. Every time I do a marketing summit, I tell people that, and they keep coming back and they still haven't done this. This is the piece. This is the piece. This is the piece. Your message, the problem you solved, the struggles that maybe you went through to get where you are, the outcomes that you got for yourself, your point of view. A lot of the time, one of the ways to answer those previous questions is to look at yourself. Because a lot of the time you find your purpose in your pain. The things that you struggled with, you want to help other people overcome, don't you? I realized that at first I was trying to be this super professional, business person. And I've got to tell you, I am a first generation college grad. So I'm the only one in my extended family to have gone to college. And I grew up in a lower middle class, blue collar family, love everything about my upbringing. And we say wash, we wash our clothes, right? I mean, I just use that one as an example, but I don't need to go out there and be another business professional. The fact that I am, came from a lower middle class blue collar background, the fact that I'm just real down to earth and just real casual about the way I live my life, that is a selling point, not something to be covered up in a veil of professionalism. So think about yours, and these are the types of things that will begin to define you. It's also important, as you think about what problem you solve, to recognize the people that you want to have hire you may not see the problem you solve as a problem. Or if they do see it as a problem, they may not see it as a problem that can be solved through speaking, training, authoring, coaching. A lot of the time, number one, we just know the water we swim in, and it just feels this is the way it's always been. Yeah, life is painful. It's just one of these things. So a lot of the times they don't realize that, hey, you wouldn't have to struggle with this. You could actually overcome this and do better. So number one, they may not recognize that they have a problem because they just look at it as that's the way it is. Number two, they may not think that the problem is solvable with training. They normally think it's someone else's fault or some unfairness or whatever. And then number three, even if you get them to recognize it's a problem and you get them to realize it is solvable through training, then of course, all those previous things we talked about answer the question, why is it you who should be bringing the training to them? So if you're kind of not sure what problems you solve, look at the news and look at all the problems in the world and look at the ones that just really hurt your heart. So for me, I get very frustrated by feeling like there are certain things that are just not accessible to the average person, that certain things in the world are just not fair. And I've always felt that these things are unfair and these things are out of reach. And it's not true. It's just not true. It may be harder for certain people. Heaven knows, with what we're talking about with really equity, there's certainly things that are out of reach and that are much harder and that are not equitable. I got to hold on to the belief, though, that there's always something I can do. It may not be easy, right? And so that's been a problem for me. It's been something I've struggled with. So I do really well in those areas because I can see eye to eye with people when they feel like it's not my fault and they feel like there's nothing I can do. Then I'm really, really good at meeting them where they are and helping them overcome their sense of powerlessness. So what about you? What are some things that just hurt your heart? What about popular workplace issues? Look at HR websites like SHRM and see what the main workplace issues are. Which of those do you feel passionate about, and do you feel like you have a really good idea on how to fix? And then what about just the individual pain and frustration that people are going through? People want basically to hire you to overcome pain, right? Or to get some result. Generally, people just, they don't buy training, they don't buy coaching, they buy results. So where are they now? Where are they going to be? And what result can you promise? And then as far as like marketing yourself, those physical things that I said are not the most important part. The definition is, then it's not a bad idea to have what the traditional press kit used to contain. So, have a standard press release, go into the Dropbox. I have lots of templates for those. Have a thing that's called the one sheet or the one page. It's got a nice photo of you, maybe a couple of other supplemental live action photos, maybe your logo if you have one, those taglines and things we talked about, a speaker bio, and then of course, what is it that you offer and what are your topics? Even if you do lots of topics for your one sheet, I would either A, kind of on one side, highlight like the 1 to 3 important topics. And then you can kind of on the back, maybe do some bullets and kind of talk about some potential customizations, or have a one sheet that, depending on what you're applying for, then this is the one sheet that positions me as an expert on time management. And I'm going to, take this text, what are those called? Text box. I'm going to take this text box out and put this one in, and now I'm a leadership expert. So, make sure that your one sheet doesn't make you look like you're a jack of all trades either. And it should all, so the statement of offering, your topics, your bio and about information, and then whatever your graphic identity is, your your headshots, your action shots, a link to your website. And then speaking of that, your website doesn't have to be fancy, but generally the reason we have a website is not because a website draws people to us. It generally doesn't. People don't generally organically find you because you have a website unless you pay pay-per-click or are actively going out and blogging and doing some things to get people to your website. People don't organically find your website. They click over from other things at places that you've been active, or other people, like people that speak at the marketing summit. I give them a ton of online presence. Your website, think of your website more as they met you or they heard about you, and then they go look you up to see, who is this person I've been hearing about? So it's mostly just they check you out after they've heard about you. So they need to be able to hear about you somewhere. And I call this giving out little pink spoons. The idea that people, are out there and they're kind of hungry for something kind of cold and sweet. And you give them a little social media post that they like, or a little YouTube video that they think is cool, or they see you speak at an event and they're like, ooh, I like that. That's pretty good. See, they got a little taste of the brand of you and the flavor of you. And now they want to go check you out and they want to go hire you. So that's kind of the key, is you're giving people little pink spoons of you. We called it, that people want to take you home with them. How do they know they want to take you home with them if they haven't gotten a little taste of you? So, and the taste of you is not talking about what you do. Here's what I do. No, it's do it. Do what you say you do. Whatever it is you say you do, have examples of you out there doing it, not talking about what you do, but examples, snippets of your training, pieces of your speaking, parts of your writing, little pieces of advice that you give out, like little advice videos or blog posts that help people see what your coaching would be like. And then one of the important things is meet people and gather. It is important to have a contact list, because people can like you, but they'll lose track of you, right? So we need to capture their email addresses, their phone numbers, and check in with them every once in a while. Like, generally, this is what the marketing looks like. Now, it's important also to keep in mind that you want to have what's the point of being self-employed, right? If you don't do it on your terms. So, think about what your main values are, what your priorities in life are. Think about what your ideal schedule would look like. What's your perfect day? Think about what an ideal week, an ideal month, and an ideal year would look like for you. Log the time that you're using now and kind of figure out how to revamp your life into that one. that lives the way you go. Because even as I'm over here hustling, right? I found for years, or can you relate to this? Hustling to be able to get every single gig that I could possibly get. And then the next thing I knew, my calendar was a mess. Like I really had to say no to everything my friends wanted me to do. And I really wasn't living any kind of an ideal life, even though I was self-employed. What? Right? So, don't lose sight of the benefit of being self-employed as well. And then, of course, really think about who your target audience is. There's a thing called a buyer persona that you might want to look up, where you really get a sense of, the demographics, the psychographics, the lifestyle of your ideal client. I know Jonathan Peters and Monica Cornetti do something with this on the Sententia gamification certification. I know at the Marketing Summit in July of 2020, I had an amazing guy named Stormy Andrews who wrote the best-selling book, The Best Buyer Persona System Ever, that you can absolutely grab his book and figure that out. But decide who your target is based upon the fact that they're suffering from something that you can help them with, the fact that they can pay, or that there is someone else who's willing to pay for you to come in. A lot of people pick target audiences that don't have money to pay. I want to help students who are struggling. Okay, who's going to pay you? I want to help, women in transition. Okay, who are they going to, like rich women in transition? I don't mean that they have to be rich to hire you, but always recognize that it's got to be somebody that can pay. And if you want to work like pro bono or at a reduced rate, great. You still have to have full pay clients to be able to afford to do that. You also need to recognize that your target audience needs to be inclined to do something. I'll never forget, a woman called me up and she paid me my full price rate to coach her two sons who didn't want to be coached. And just to make their mom happy, they went to 3 sessions apiece with me, but nothing came of it, right? And then what I really wanted to do was go back to the mom and say, what if we all do a group coaching and really kind of figure out what's going on here, right? And then, of course, your target audience needs to be able to be found. So if you've identified, like, this is the target audience, this is who I want to work with, and I say, okay, great, how are you going to reach those people? And you say, well, I don't know. Right? Where do they hang out in the real world? Like, can you go to a networking event? Can you join a trade organization or a chamber of commerce and meet them? Is there a certain website or two that they hang out on that you can chat with them? If you don't know where to find them or how to find them, they can be your great target audience, but how are you going to reach them? So these are all just practical considerations as we take a look at this checklist for success. Now, this one sheet that I already kind of mentioned what the pieces were, in the Dropbox, there are lots of one sheets from all different kinds of speakers, and they take on all different types of formats. So please look through those and upload your own. One of the big things that we're doing now in the modern era is you still have that traditional bio that says Sherry Prindle has delivered over 3,000 seminars in all 50 states and 5 countries in 3 languages. She has launched the careers of over 1,200 coaches. Like, that is still a thing. But this idea of a first person bio, where you say hi to the people that are reading it and you tell them who you are. And in this case, I like this particular first person bio because notice he starts to define who his clients are. My clients are this, you are this. So that first person bio where you say I and you, and you're talking about who you are and who your clients are. We talked about these things already on the one sheet. So take a look at some of the one sheets that are over there in the Dropbox. Generally, I mentioned pink spoons. When possible, video pink spoons are more effective than just a little written piece, but written pieces are very searchable online. And so backing up a video piece with a written piece is always nice. So you can do blogging, right? You can write articles, you can do little YouTube videos, like a vlog, a video blog. I recommend just doing kind of regular little snippet, tips and things like that via video. You can do Q&As where you say, hey, I'd love to help you out with whatever. Come on and let's do a Q&A. And then I'll coach a couple of you on the Q&A. It's called hot seat coaching, where maybe there's 20 people there and you say one or two, you say, well, let me coach you. And while everyone hears you coach them, they all get value. Live engagement, right? Live video, live audio, all of that is big now. And there are ways to get pink spoons. So notice I have several other kinds of ideas here. Your elevator speech, doing a free session if you're a coach is a possibility. Free speaking, guest stages, those are all really good ways. And then you need to be able to have a proposal and to fulfill on the proposal. So remember, there are proposals in the Dropbox. And then to be able to actually fulfill on what you've promised, that's where you go to the Facebook group and you say, help me, I need somebody that can help me with this. And we've got your backs. That's what the Marketing Summit is all about. So remember, the most important thing is to do the defining. Don't get lost. The other part's easy. It's rather easy to make a one sheet. Or it's easy to sink a lot of time and a lot of money into making a one sheet or a website. Remember, it's this defining stuff that's going to make the biggest difference. It's also important to be honest with yourself. You can't do all of these things on your own. You can't be all things to all people. So work on the description. Be honest about what you offer. What are your greatest skills? What are your weaknesses that maybe you need to hire an assistant to help you with? How are you going to create passive residual income? Continuing to only make money when you're there is probably not the way to go. So what resources can you create and what resources will you need? Del Von Servine, who was a co-organizer of the Marketing Summit with us for years, said, my fear of inaction is greater than my fear of failure. My regret of not doing will last a lifetime. My failure will fade the moment I succeed. And we're here to help you succeed. Welcome to the Star Marketing Summit.